So the other day, this happened, which was so upsetting. So the poor car, little wheel rash here. Yeah, a lot of wheel rash. Oh yeah, over here, some too. Yeah. So I got in a poor wreck with the car, going around a corner too fast and not paying close enough attention and sliding and hitting a curb. That's what caused that. And you can see the whole wheel is sort of tipped inward, the rim is damaged. I'm surprised the tire didn't pop, but we're about to take the tire off and figure out what the hell happened and get some parts and then I'll repair it. But just figure I'd take you all along for on the ride and see what's going on. You can also see here the wheel well got cut through there and scored the tire up pretty good. Yeah, the tire is all scored up there in the center. See, the drop link is broken. And the tie rod end is broken. But that's probably still okay. I need to take that out of there and obviously replace this tie rod. The tie rod end even looks okay, just the bar broke. So we'll get to that. Axle. I don't think the axle's busted. Let's get on that controller. Oh yeah, totally bad. That should be flat there. Okay, it's a wreck. We got to get some stuff taken apart. So started out taking the tie rod end off. So quick bolt, quick hammer, and she's out. I always put the nuts back on where they belong. Bolts too, just because you never remember where they go. Now I'll also make sure to save this because I have to reference it later. So number of turns you take it out will help you set up tracking in the future. So next up, lower control arm, 2 big bolts up front, and there's 2 bolts in the back too, but those ones are a little bit more difficult to get to. I'll show you those in just a bit. Started out using the air ratchet. Thing would not cut the mustard here. We just did not have enough oomph. So I ended up having to switch to using a larger air ratchet, impact ratchet, and this ratchet is pretty powerful. Just double check and make sure it's got enough oomph. I set it all the way up, put an 18mm socket on it, and it was too big to really fit in that space. So I had to go get some extensions. Now, for those of you who used an impact wrench in the past, you're really not supposed to use extensions with impact wrenches. It takes a lot of the power away because essentially you're twisting that bar instead of putting the force into the bolt. And of course, it did not have the power to get that bolt off there. Check to make sure I had it going the right direction, which I did, and still nada. So just took some good old-fashioned elbow grease, put a ratchet right on top. I was able to bust it loose, and then I switched back to that impact wrench to get that bolt the rest of the way out. And there we go, first bolt out. Second one, again, just use some elbow grease with a ratcheting wrench. Pop that bad guy out. Now, it was hard to get to, so I had to get a swivel, air ratchet, and eventually got that one mostly out, but there was just not enough space, and I figured I'll eventually get that one out after I take the others out. So now I took off the lower ball joint nut, but this control arm was so bent it would not just fall out like I'd hoped. Everything was pretty well jammed up. Pried out a little bit, hit my face on the side of the car. So decided to go ahead and just start tackling those rear 2 bolts. You can see both those 2 bolts sticking up right there. They're through bolts, so you got a nut on the back side. Put an air ratchet on there. Popped them right loose. No problem, easy peasy. Second one, similar. Put a wrench on the top, impact wrench on the bottom, and everything just sort of fell right out. Always put the nuts back on the bolts so you don't forget which ones they came off of. That was actually really important when I went to go put all this back together, because the bolts on the front of the control arm and the back of the control arm are the same size, just different lengths. So again, tried to pick away at this with a crowbar, persuasion tools. Hammers and crowbars are persuasion tools, so I had to persuade this to come off, but it was pretty jammed on there, again, just because it's all bent up, That's expected when you're dealing with some crash damaged components. And I got the back off. The front was still on there because that bolt was still attached. So I had to pull that bolt out of there, which was a little bit of a task. So I just put the swivel on the air ratchet and had to figure out how to get in there, because again it was sort of bent up still, but now I can move around a little bit, but still very tight. And there she pops loose. Obviously you sort of folded in half. And again, put your nuts back because you'll forget. You might need them with the new parts. You never know what the new parts are going to come with. Well and truly perished. The ball joint wasn't too bad. I was surprised this car has 140,000 miles on it, and really that original ball joint was just fine. So next up, we got to take off all these other little bits and pieces, but I'm going to save that drop link for later. This tie rod end is next. So we got to take that boot off, and then these things just twist off. So I went and brought some channel locks over to get that spring clip off there. And they came right off pretty easy. Save that one. Now the top of the boot was secured using a big ring clamp that was very stubborn. It took me forever to get it off there. I ended up having to jam a pick up underneath it, sort of just stretching it out, and then made it loose enough that I could just slide it off of the steering rack. And there it is. Finally got it off. And you can see it's got like a crimp spot on it, and I just jammed a pick underneath and sort of pulled it apart to get it loose enough that it just came off. And I save all these bits and pieces because you never know what you're going to need with the new equipment. And you'll see that later on, I actually reuse that clip. So this is the tie rod end here, and it goes up to that ball. And this comes off here somehow. There's a hex on there. So I'm guessing it just untwists, but it might be a tough one to get off of there. There's a special tool they use to do this, but I'm not one to use special tools. I want to use what I have in the garage. Usually I end up making something if I can't find it, and especially if it's not something that they rent at a regular parts store. So I ended up having to turn the steering rack in the car all the way to the left to extend out this as far as it'll go, so it'll go past the subframe. So at first I tried to use some channel locks, and it was really just too difficult to get in there with the under tray sort of getting in the way. I really couldn't get a tight grip, and you can see here I just don't have, there's just not enough oomph to get that thing to turn. So I dug in the garage for a little bit, rummaged around. Got a pretty big one here, but I don't think it's the right size. There's like a washer or something sort of in the way. It may be the right size, but it's not like skinny enough. Might be one of those tools that these places will rent you. Oh, look at that. I had the right one. It's the only monster wrench I have that's big like this. Just so happens to be the right one. Look at that. It just turns off. Love it. And there you go. There's that guy. Alrighty, now. So obviously pretty happy that I had the right tools and everything that I needed. And the last thing to take off was that drop link. So pretty quick and easy. Just I hate that you have to do these both from the same side because of that ball joint, but pretty easy. Now onto this tire. There's a lot of scuff on these tires, on this rim, and just handling this rim is a bit dangerous because it's pretty sharp. So, and also right here, you know, you hit a big bump, that knife edge of a rim is going to slice right through that tire. So put some clamps on the edge to pull the tire back, and then filed some of the really rough edges away. And then used a wire brush on a drill to kind of smooth everything out. Again, this is really just to make it safe to handle. Now that knife edge, though, that's right along that tire, I took a Dremel and sort of removed some more material to smooth it all out, and then I used a sanding wheel to really smooth it out. So this is the before. You can see how deep those scratches were. And here's the after. So much smoother, easier to handle. No sharp edges where I'm going to cut myself just handling the tire. And you can see that's rolled over much better than it was. Okay, day 2. Assembly phase, which is always much better than the disassembly phase. So here we go, starting with the tie rod end, making sure my wrench fits, which is good, it does. And we got to uncase the old boot, or the new boot, and make sure everything fits there. We got small on the one side, and they provided zip ties to hold the other end on, which I thought was sort of a joke. I would never hold something that's supposed to keep grease and dirt and dust and muck from the road off of such a precision component by using something as pitiful as a zip tie. So, and they didn't provide anything for the small side, so I figured they want zip ties on both ends. Again, I wouldn't be doing that, so it's a good thing I saved those old clips. Spring clip on the bottom and that crimp clip on the top. Now that crimp clip, as you'll see later, is a bit of a trick. And has struggled with this a little bit to get it threaded on, but we got it on there. This just threads on. Rope. Let's put the boot on. Slide on here. I'm going to try to reuse that guy. I have the crimper for that. So I made this round again, and I'm just going to use a pair of wire cutters to crimp down on that guy. Yeah, I say that like it was easy. It was not. It took two different types of wire cutters to try to get in there and get enough hand strength on it to crimp it, but we did get it. But it was not easy. Not easy at all. Next up is the lower control arm. Now this lower control arm I struggled with so much. It was tight to try to get onto the subframe. The wheel hub and the disc and the brakes and everything were sort of hanging in the way of me getting it into place, so I had to just play around with it, move around it, jerk it around, move it around, try to free up some space using a crowbar, back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, until eventually I got one bolt in, which was the very, very front bolt. And then from there, I used a series of just jacking it up a little bit, hammering it into place, back and forth. It was just a struggle, absolute struggle. If, in hindsight, if I had taken parts off, more parts off, this would have been a lot easier of a job, and I probably would have done it. I would have taken the knuckle off of the strut and just take that whole piece off, and that would have been a heck of a lot easier. So, pro tip, take the knuckle off and hang it up out of place so you don't have to take the brake lane off, and this thing would have slipped right together. Would not have been a big deal at all. So after we got all the bolts in, and I was happy with that, we brought out the torque wrenches and went ahead and torqued everything up. And the two front bolts, I think, were 114 foot-pounds, plus a quarter turn or something. And the back ones were a lot less. I think they were 85 foot-pounds. Those ones were much easier to get to. The front ones were very, very difficult to torque down properly. Again, it's just because of all the stuff in the way. If I had removed the knuckle and the axle, it'd have been easy. Again, hindsight's 20/20. It came with a nylock nut. Tight. Make sure you replace the same parts like for like. So it's this one that goes on here. Now, as I was putting this tie rod end on, I made sure to put it on the same number of turns as when I took the old one off, and this one just happened to be 17 turns. And it got us close. Don't count on those number of turns to put your wheels in the right places. It doesn't quite work. It just kind of gets you in the ballpark. Cars are handed, right? There's a left hand and a right hand, just like with the tie rod ends. But I can't figure out which one is which. So this is the one that came out, and you can see that the front and front here is kicked a little bit clockwise compared to the one in the back. So if we straighten up the one in the back there, you can see that it's twisted the wrong way. For this one, if we will put the one in the back, we can see the front one. So we put that one in the back sort of straight. You can see this one is kicked more clockwise. So, same here, right? So now we know that this is the one that goes on this side of the car. Just a little quick tip. Definitely don't mix these up. They will get twisted or bent or destroyed pretty quick. Yeah, we're gonna have to compress this. Oh, that took a while. We got there. Okay. And just like that, everything's all in. Tie rod end, drop link, control arm, and she'll be good to go. Eventually we'll do a real alignment, but that'll be good enough for now. Oh, I love this car. Thanks y'all for joining me on this little adventure with the wreck and the suspension. Really have had a good time repairing this. It's been a long time since I've had to do a repair on a car, so it was kind of nice to actually get my hands dirty and get in there. But if you like what you see, please like and subscribe, share this video. I will be doing some more videos. The next one's actually going to be on the Avalanche. It's sitting right over here. Just a quick repair on the evap system. But I have some really big plans for the Jeep that you see over there in the garage and the Avalanche. Both have some big plans for those. So you want to join in on the adventure and see what's going on, please follow me. And thank you all.